Hiya.
Right then. How do you do? Have you done much Zooming?
Yeah. It's fun.
I'm using my mobile phone as my camera, which is there.
Okay.
And when I'm really focusing on what you're saying, I'm going to be looking at my big screen, which is over there. So it's going to look like I'm not listening.
No problems.
It's going to look like I've gone a bit mad. So you sent us a video, which I've had a quick look at.
Yeah.
You're having quite good fun when you're trying to walk them. Is that every time they see another dog, or?
Well, this is the weird thing with it. It's mostly that's what mostly happens. But I was going to send you another video that we took on the same walk, which I didn't. But it was quite long, so I was like, oh, I'll speak to you about it. But we went past a Westie, didn't we? Normally, she likes to have a good bark at Westies as well for some reason. But particularly yesterday, we went past this Westie and there was no reaction. So this is why we get really confused on what to do with her, because most of the time she'll kick off like she does for no reason really. And then we can walk past another dog and have no reaction. And then the other complexity of it is that it seems to just be, it tends to be mainly in Tetney, obviously where we live, like it's a territory thing. If we go out to Cleethorpes and walk down the promenade with her on the lead, she's fine, isn't she? Walking past other dogs on the lead. But then she might then decide on the odd one dog that she doesn't like that dog, so she has a bit of a go. But then she'll walk past 3 or 4 other dogs with no issue. So it's really odd, and it baffles us completely.
So she was on the video. She was with another dog.
Yeah, so we've got Sybil, she's about 1 year and 2 months now, isn't she? Mm-hmm. But Tilly did this before, but now that we've obviously added Sybil into the mix, she tends to like to wind her up a bit more as well.
How Tilly?
Tilly's 7.
And you say that she's always done it. When Tilly has she always been a single dog until you had Sybil?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm trying to think back, because when I got her as a puppy, we went to puppy classes, we mixed her, she got on absolutely fine with other dogs. She's absolutely fine off lead. We don't have any issue. She'll mix with all sorts of dogs off lead and completely pleasant, doesn't she? She might have a little warning sort of growl if they're a bit in her face and boisterous, but then it's resolved and she toddles on and that's it. So she's like a dream off the lead, but then it just seems to be this on the lead. I think, I'm not sure, but it started when she was about 6 months maybe, and I took her down to Cornwall with some friends. They've got a German Shepherd. At the time, she had bad hip problems, so she was quite agitated with any dogs that came near her, and she would bark at them. And I'm not sure if Tilly sort of saw that and thought that was the way to do things. But Molly since then has had her hips replaced. Now that she's not sort of in pain, she's then absolutely fine. So now when we go down to Cornwall to see our friends, Molly no longer barks at other dogs when they walk past, but Tilly does, and it's just really frustrating.
Okay. So it's happening more often when you're walking on similar routes, so when you're in your home walks?
Yeah, it seems to be just in Tetney, just on lead walks, and just when we go around the village. Would you say anywhere else?
No, it's just around the village.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
And the dogs that she sees then will tend to be the same dogs over and over?
Yeah, pretty much, I think. You might get the odd one that we've not bumped into before. Just depends on schedules, I think.
you noticed any pattern if it's a new dog but it's in the village? Is she still likely to be more likely to bark at it?
There's no real pattern to it. Whoever, as soon as she sees a dog and she's on the lead, that's it. She starts barking at it.
She's been all right with puppies though, hasn't she? Previously,
Yeah,
like she'll say hello to a puppy and not be bothered, and then, but then when the puppy, because there's a spaniel in the village and she absolutely loved it, and then every time we saw them in the morning, she just absolutely loved saying hello, didn't she? And then when it got older and it was fully grown, then she just started screaming at it. We were just like, you know this dog. So it's completely, yeah.
When she's on lead but she's away from your normal walk, you say that she generally doesn't bother with you, she doesn't get excited in the same way. Does she still on lead, does she still greet other dogs in those other environments, or does she avoid them?
She'll go past them.
Yeah, I'd say she'd greet them.
She has like a little sniff of them and that, then continues on. Or if we don't sort of go near them, she just sort of looks and carries on, but there's no reaction. So it's really odd.
And the dogs that she sees around the village, has there been any sort of close calls where she's maybe met them through fences or hedges, or
no, because we've got where our garden backs onto, there's nobody with dogs, and then where she goes to my mum and dad's, obviously under normal circumstances in the day, they're not backed onto anything, so she doesn't have any of I mean, she'll stand at the front gates and bark at everything that walks past, but there is quite a big bit of clearance. Are you familiar with Tetney?
A little bit, not very.
But they're near the fish and chip shop, so there's the village green in the middle, and they're sort of behind it. And she obviously, even though she's that far back, she'll still sit and obviously have to bark at anyone that walks past the top. So, but I think that's maybe just a territory protective sort of guard dog mentality that she's got.
These dogs, is there a distance at which she doesn't bother? Can you think of a distance she wouldn't bother getting excited?
If we was walking by herself, if there was a dog on the other side of the road, she wouldn't bother. But the issue is at the minute is Sybil, she starts barking at anything, and then that sets Tilly off.
Now, I think Tilly would bark though if they were on the other side of the road.
I don't think she would. I don't even think Tilly would bark at a person.
No, Tilly don't bark at people. That's the issue that we've got with Sybil. But they tend to be quite a distance ahead. I think from the video, like where they were, there was a point where if they'd have stayed at that distance, she wouldn't have even bothered. She'd have just gone past, or if they'd have been ahead of us, she just would have followed behind and not bothered.
All right, so Sybil then, bless her, when did she start and barking at everybody?
What do you say it was?
I'd say probably from about 6 months onwards.
Do you think?
Yeah, because she didn't do it straight away.
No.
But I think she's developed that because she's seen Tilly barking at the window,
yeah,
and barking from Laura's parents' garden. That's where she's got that behaviour from. And she feels like she needs to do it all the time, every time she sees either a person, a dog, a vehicle.
But she's also very nervous of people, which I think is to do with the lockdown, because we haven't been able to, we got her, when did we bring her home? Sort of January, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brought her home January last year. And then obviously we started at puppy classes, but we only got so many in. And she just started showing the signs then, didn't she, when we were at puppy class, of barking at people that were coming near us. But then you would take her out with you to work, and she would be seeing, because you obviously go into people's houses for your work, so people were quite like happy for him to take her in with her when she was a puppy. So she was getting loads of socialization with people and playing with them in the kitchens and stuff. But then when that stopped and we went into lockdown, then she wasn't seeing anybody, and then it was kind of around there that she started barking at people coming near her.
Yeah, it's because she was spending more time with Tilly, wasn't she?
Yeah, but it's like if somebody comes to her and like, you know, they get down and they offer a treat, she'll happily come and take the treat, but then she'll go back to barking at them, and then she'll come and get the other treat. So she's happy to take a treat off you, but then she'll keep barking at you, but then she'll bark for somebody to throw a toy, so then she'll happily play with them, but then at the same time she'll have a bark as if to say you're at a safe distance where you are, sort of thing, but I'd still want you to play with me and give me treats. So it's a bit awkward. We've got two proper awkward dogs.
All right, I think I've got a theory going on. I just start to figure out how to sort of word it so that you can follow me without getting lost.
Okay.
You've got exactly the same pattern, which you've already said yourself. When Tilly was a puppy, 6 to 7 months of age, she was exposed to a dog who was grumpy because she was in pain and was aggressively towards other dogs. Yeah? Now she's doing the same essentially to the pup. All right. And the reason that the 6 to 7 months period is really quite key to this is because around that age they enter what they call adolescence, and it's a secondary fear phase.
Right.
So the in the brain becomes hypersensitive. Which means that things that they previously have had no problems with whatsoever, and they've even a dog who's been very well socialized, which it sounds like they both had been previous to that, even that kind of a dog, their brain will go through this really sensitive period where they start to have these little fears show up. And what we will often do as human beings is we will panic because we've had this perfectly good little dog who we know we've done a really good job with getting them exposed and mixed and whatever, and then it all falls apart. And if you're not expecting it, then it can come as a real big shock. And if you're not expecting it, you can make the situation worse by us overreacting to the situation. So my next question would be, if you can remember as far back with Sybil, do you remember what you did when she first started barking? What was your response when she was that little 6 months?
Oh, it's awkward, isn't it? Because when she first started doing it, we were attending impact behaviour, and Pamela told us just to sort of ignore her and just not look at her when she was doing it, which we started doing, didn't we? But then obviously then we weren't in a position to actually ignore her because it was on walks and stuff, so obviously we were just having to try and walk her past. So we would just say sort of, Sybil, no, like you do, and that was sort of it. But then obviously now that when the lockdown sort of ceased and we could go back out and obviously see people in gardens and stuff, all we've been trying to do is get people to like give her a treat and stuff like that. It's just been awkward, so we haven't had the chance to really work on it. Or
okay, so yeah, to a certain extent, not overreacting is the correct thing to do. So the advice to ignore her is a good bit of advice, but it doesn't go far enough.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, and we can start this for both dogs, is we need to change the underlying emotion. If we ignore the fact that there is a reason, an internal reason in the dog, if we ignore that and we try to stop, in inverted commas, the behavior, what we leave is a dog that still has the same emotional drive, the same emotional reason to need to express that feeling, but we've taken away that expression, we've taken away that, you know, barking or whatever it is that they do, jumping in the air, screaming. I've had all sorts of different reactions. So, two things. If we pay attention to it and we add to that emotion by our own reactions, then we're liable to make it worse, because you've got this dog who doesn't know what to do and it's doing all of these behaviors to try and make itself feel better, and then the owner essentially joins in. So isn't going to work, and especially telling them off isn't going to work if the underlying emotion is fear already, because what you get is, I see that dog or I see that person and it makes me feel anxious and I'm not sure what to do about it, and then the owner kicks off and they get upset and angry, and now we've got this mess that next time I'm going to take all of everything that happened and I'm going to put it into the next time that this happens. So what do we do? Well, the first thing to recognize, and the reason I was asking what distances they're able to cope with, that's what we call the threshold distance. In other words, the amount of exposure to that thing that the dog can cope with before it just bubbles over. And if you imagine putting a plug in a sink and turning your taps on, yeah, the sink's fine, isn't it? It's fine, and then woof, suddenly it's overflowing. Emotions are a bit like that. We're fine when the dog's at this distance or the person's at this distance, that if that person comes any closer, woof, start flowing over. So what we need, first of all, is to turn the taps down. Yeah, so we're going to have that person or that dog be a longer distance away. And fair enough, we'll talk about the fact that you don't always have control over the other dogs, but there are ways of managing the situation. What we also need is a way of taking the plug out. So we reduce threshold level. All right, if we can't have the dog express that emotion and get rid of that emotion in a different way, in a safer way or a more appropriate way that suits you, then we've still got that sink filling up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
With analogies, some people don't. Does that one work for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, you've got two separate dogs. You've got one dog who is fearful of people and having problems at the moment, who is also slap bang in the middle of adolescence and the adolescence fear phase. And we need to, I think, focus on that dog. All right. Because she will get worse rapidly if we don't improve her difficulties. Okay. The other reason I want to focus on that dog, which is not, unfortunately, the one you thought you had the main problem with, on that dog is that she'll get worse rapidly, which is then going to make Tilly worse as well.
Yeah.
So she has, you said she's all right and she can cope, and her sink stays low threshold as long as people are at a certain distance.
Yeah.
And I want you to know, in your mind's eye, exactly what that distance is.
I was going to say, I've took a video actually of her on the same walk, didn't I? Just in case we needed a video to refer to for Sybil. And it shows what she's like before poor guy who was walking past gets to the point where she then decides to bark, and it wasn't too far, was it?
No.
It was literally, God, what would you say, like 3 or 4 meters?
Yeah.
And then she wouldn't. But then the other thing with Sybil is that if you give her a tennis ball and she's got a distraction, she's not even bothered about people walking past her. So,
all right, that's a good bit of information. I'm writing that down.
but because we tried that on the walk as well, didn't we? But the only problem with the tennis ball is obviously she keeps dropping it and then has to go. So I need one that's maybe on a rope or something that she can, I don't know if it's like a bit of an anxiety breaker that she's got something to chew on while she's walking past people, but it did work, didn't it?
Yeah, well, Sybil's absolutely obsessed with
Yeah.
tennis balls. She's not bothered about treats. She'd rather have a tennis ball.
Mm.
Whereas Tilly's the other way. Tilly would rather have a treat, and she's
Yeah.
not bothered about tennis balls or toys.
Yeah, she's properly food orientated.
You did say, was it Sybil that you said that she'll take food from a person?
Yeah, she will take a treat, yeah.
All right, so thinking again with Sybil about the sink analogy.
Mm-hmm.
If I turn the taps on full, yeah, and I take the plug out slightly for a few seconds, you got one of those that you've got a little handle at the back and you can just pull it up and then put it straight back down again, yeah? So
Yeah.
you can take your plug. And I say to you that the person being too close turns the taps on, so they're rapidly getting close to threshold, yeah? The person giving food takes the plug out while the food is in their hand, but as soon as that food is gone from their hand, that plug goes straight back in again.
Yeah.
Okay. From Sybil's point of view, that makes that person still incredibly dangerous.
Mm.
Okay. Because the only reason she's gone all the way over is because she wants the food.
Yeah.
She's got the food in her mouth. There's no reason to be there. She's too close. She is with her danger zone. The taps are still flowing like mad and filling that sink up. All right. So we need to stop having strangers feed her.
Right, okay.
Because they are inviting her back into that dangerous zone where she doesn't feel comfortable, where she doesn't feel safe. What do we do? We go, oh, there's a stranger. And we put treats on the floor. And we put treats on the floor further away from the stranger.
Okay.
So she looks at the stranger, she goes, oh, there's a stranger. And you go, yeah, it's good, isn't it? And it's a piece of food and it's over there and it's behind me and it's away from the stranger. And she looks again and you go, yeah, it's good, isn't it? And there's a piece of food behind me, away from the stranger. Okay? If she's more ball orientated, you can do exactly the same with the ball. You can go walking along, the ball is hidden, it's not on view, it's inside your jacket or it's in a pocket, and hopefully you've not even told her that it's there. You're walking along, you get to where you know her danger zone is, and you're ready, but you don't move that ball. You wait until she looks at him, she goes, and if you can get that magic moment before she starts worrying and barking, yeah, but she has seen them, she's noticed them, and it might be that that's quite a long distance away to begin with, but we want her to see them. We want her to take the information in. We want to see man or whoever it is, whatever it is that you think she might react to, equals, ta-da, bally, and then you start playing. Okay? She hasn't seen the person, then the ball will work as a distraction, but what it doesn't do is make her feel safer about the person. It doesn't change how she feels about that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas if she sees the person, best person, red coat, blue eyes, whatever, taking all that detail in, and then there's Bally, and she goes, hang on a minute, next time I see that person, there's a chance that there might be bullying.
Mm.
The more that it becomes predictable, the more she's going to start to say, did you see there's a person, where's my ball, where's my ball? Okay. We're starting to change the emotional response in the brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you start to see that connection in her brain, the good stuff is going to start happening when she sees that person. What you can do then is you can slowly reduce the distance between you and that other person before the ball comes out. It becomes your way of playing her away from that fearful situation. So we're going to increase distance. Increasing distance is always the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
When we get accidentally into a situation where they're already over threshold, they're not able to pay attention to the toy or the food, you just have to get out of there. You just have to move. You know, don't stand. But the aim is always to stay below threshold. So you've kind of got an idea what your threshold distances are for both dogs, for dogs and for people. What I want you always to be thinking is, how can I increase this distance to make my dog feel safer? How can I get them to the point where they really don't feel like they need to woof? And there's things you can do that. Fun, gamey way that makes them feel better each time they see that thing. Yeah, how does that feel?
Yeah, obviously, are we better in terms of Sybil sort of taking her out on her own to do that at first without Tilly, so that we haven't got, because otherwise it turns into a massive free-for-all, doesn't it, of trying to...
they egg each other on, don't they?
Yeah, and I mean, my dad has taken Sybil out on his own, and he says he has mixed reactions, obviously, on when he's out. If I'm at work and he'll take her for a little walk, he said sometimes she won't bark at anybody, and he'll just sort of say, Sybil, no, sort of thing, and she stops and that's it. Or he said she doesn't even bother paying attention to the person, or then there'll be days that he takes her out and she barks at everything. So obviously I can tell him what to do now as well.
And always remembering that Sybil is going through quite a dramatic brain development stage right now. And they did nasty autopsy on teenagers to find out what's causing, because it's a recognized issue in human teenagers, canine teenagers, pretty much any teenage mammal. It's a recognized thing that they will suddenly start becoming difficult. They'll be difficult, they'll forget their training, they'll start acting emotionally. So they started doing these, they call them I don't remember. Autopsies on animals are called necropsies, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so they found out that the main emotion center of the brain, which is the amygdala, becomes swollen. It's bigger. It's ready, much more anxiety and fear chemistry ready to go. It's primed to be reactive. Yeah. And the part of the brain that generally is responsible for dampening down those reactions becomes a bit pathetic at exactly the same time. You know, talk about design. So you've got one part of the brain going, everything's really scary, let's react to everything. And the other part of the brain that normally says it's all right, mate, goes, he's gone on holiday, you know, he's off, he's not involved anymore. So your dog can't help it, first of all. You know, it's like any teenager. I mean, all of us have been through it. We've all known that we've started fights with our parents for no reason whatsoever. You know, the most ridiculous going on, and your dog is going on through the same. So punishment is not going to work. It might look as if it does. All right, and this is where the crux is. Punishment will appear to stop the behavior in that moment. And that makes it feel like it's the right thing to do for us. Okay. But as I said before, it will stop the behavior, but it won't stop the underlying cause. And if we fill that gap with something else better to do that makes the dog feel better about that situation, so something that functions for us because it changes the behavior, but it also functions for them internally, mentally and emotionally. So the easiest way is to, each time you see that she's seen something that she would normally react to, before she gets reactive to it, you say, wow, look at this. And there is treats behind you. Okay.
See, we have tried with Tilly, but it just didn't work. She just, I mean, I don't know, even we've tried before, haven't we?
Yeah.
Right before. Tilly. And she's very sly in that she'll take the treat and then she'll still go back. And so then we've tried it at the like nearer to the time, and she just ignores the treat completely and cracks on, and it's
so that just means that you've been doing it when she's already over threshold.
Or too far before, maybe.
So we need to catch that magic moment where she has seen but hasn't started to get, her shoulders haven't come up and her tail hasn't started to go up and start rising, and the bristles on the back of her neck haven't started to raise. Yeah. Where she's able to swap her attention from the thing she's worried about to you, and to swap it easily. If she can't do that, you're too close. You've gone too close straight away. And I want you to try and avoid getting that close in the first place.
Yeah, okay.
So that she's not that over threshold situation. And that means that to begin with, you won't know whether or not you're doing okay, except for the fact that she will change her view back to you a lot quicker. You won't know how close you are to that threshold. If you're doing it right, you won't react at all. It's really boring training. So we need to know that we've seen the dog and she's gone, she's seen them, but she hasn't started getting dancy or tail up. She hasn't got stuck. I call it stuck. But you know when they can't look at anything else because they're channeled into looking at that one thing. Once she's stuck, we're too late. We just need to move. We need to, don't argue. Don't try and make her stay there. Don't try and make her sit. Don't talk to her. Just go. Just leave.
Yeah, that tends to be what we do anyway, don't we? Just try and drag her through.
Yeah.
But it's like the whole commotion anyway is stressful enough because she screams so much. And it's, I mean, I know that's obviously the taller thing with the screaming. It'd be so much more manageable if it was just a bark. But the fact that she screams how she does just makes it so stressful.
I have a couple of little exercises that I want that will work for both. That I want to just talk you through and do a quick demo with my dogs. Yeah. We'll see if your dogs are there, whether or not we can get you started. We are going to be a bit short of time. I think we're 5 minutes past, so we've got 25 minutes left, but we'll go. We'll give. So you're going to need some treats that are decent value. You're going to angle your camera somehow so that I can get a view of you and your dog working together.
Okay.
Yeah. So my room doesn't need to be a big space. This is my little office, and I'm going to change the view of my camera so you can see the floor. And here I have a dog. Ready to be my demo dog. You can't see. Maybe you can't see the others. There's a pile of dogs, and there's another one. Okay. And to just get rid of some dogs, get some dog treats, and reorganize my camera while you do the same.
Okay.
Okay.
No problems. Yeah.
What about these tasty minis?
Maybe go with hot dogs to Tilly because it's awkward in it with her. I don't want to give her too much.
Here you go. You have a bed there.
Like to angle it, do you think? Down here. Can't see it. Maybe try there. Drop it, what do you think? How am I going to get this to best crop up? I'm going to have to put something in front of it to wind it. That's not going to work, is it? Okay. Fine. To go. No, that's not going to work.
No, Daddy.
If we grab a chair, put it on a chair so it's a bit lower.
Oh, that's a better idea. Sorry, we're just having camera problems.
Hi, darling. We're all in the same boat. When I first started having to do Zoom instead of real life classes, I was like, where the hell am I going to do it?
It's so awkward, isn't it? Because you just like, you can't get the camera to go the way you want it to go, and it's just. Come here then. Oh, you're limping again, aren't you?
Right then, are you just about ready, do you think?
Yeah.
I'm gonna mute you for a second just so that it makes for better sound and video quality. All right, so I'm putting you on mute. If you need to get my attention, you're gonna have to make some really decent body language to get me. All right, so you should now, because I've muted you, the camera should focus more tightly on me and the sound quality should be better. So ginger dogs are us. I like the colour of your dogs. Here's mine. This is my ginger boy. And the first exercise that I want you to practice is a little exercise called "What's this?" Yeah. Now, when you do that, you're going to say it in a really excited sort of a way. And you're not going to practice it to begin with when there's something in the environment that the dog's worried about. You're going to practice it at home. You're going to practice it in the garden. You're going to practice it when there's no other dogs on view. And what I want you to have is rewards which are easy to manipulate, easy to manage, are very, very, very tasty, very high value, that you can break up into small pieces without them falling apart. So you can see Dodo quite likes this. I've broken it up. These are about a quarter of the size that they were, but they're kind of firm. They're not crumbly and they're very tasty. Yeah. So something that they really, really like, easy to handle for you, isn't going to fall apart when you throw it on the floor. And I'm just going to wait until he's ignoring me a little bit. I'm just wandering around. I'm doing my daily chores. I'm doing nothing in particular. And then I go, "Whoa, what's this?" And I drop a few tiny bits of food. Then I go back to just doing my normal stuff, you know, going around, hoo-ha, not looking at the dog, don't want to get any attention from him, not bothered if he doesn't look at me. Oh, what's this? And what you should see is your dog goes, yeah, they jump in the air and they get all excited. And they're desperate to go to whatever you're pointing at. And when they get there, they find out there's something amazing there. Yeah, it was amazing. What's this? And what you can see as a result of that, then your dog starts not wanting to take attention off you. They want to watch where you're going. They want to watch what you're doing. They want to keep track of you. So it's difficult to get rid of them. Yeah? So you're going to have to wait a little while until your dog's wandered off and they started sniffing and they started paying attention to the environment again. And then you're going to do it again. Yeah, so I'm a bit stuck with him because I can't really practice that right now because he's just too busy watching me. But so we'll get you to have a go instead. Yeah? So I'll unmute you. You might need to press a button on your camera and I'll mute me.
So we just have to, this is going to be fun with two of them.
I know.
Right, so I'm not watching them, am I? I'm just like not doing anything. What's this? What's this? This is going to be hard with two of them and food, isn't it?
She'll be watching you though.
Yeah, she will be. Oh, what's this? What's this? What's this? It's going to be round and she watches Tilly just doesn't take her hand off me, does she? Too busy looking at me. Let me walk off a bit. Just know, don't they? Go on, go see. What's this? What's this? What's this?
That's good though, it's working.
What's this? What's this? Now they're just waiting for a treat.
You can see already how quickly it can work, that your dog is starting to want to keep track of you.
Yeah.
And the benefit of that is not only can you use it in an emergency, once you've got it trained really well away from the situation that you actually need it to be in the future, all right? But you need to make sure they're really, really up on that signal. You've got to make sure that they're really up on that signal, that you see them get excited when they hear that signal and they desperately want to follow you and keep track of you when they hear that signal, before you then start using it in situations that you really need it. So until they're really good at it, until you're seeing them, you know, eyes go wide and they start turning straight back towards you and they want to follow you straight away, don't ever say it or try and do it when you're not sure. Okay? When they're really crazy about it, when they can't help themselves, and you see them when you get it really well, you'll see them sort of turn themselves inside out to come back to find out what you're doing. Yeah? When they're really good at it, then you can start using it as part of your program to help your dogs feel better. Because imagine if every time they saw a dog, before they reach threshold, you start doing something that's fun and exciting and interesting. And they start to link that in their brain. So mum, who's been going along quiet and boring and, oh, look, there's a dog, and what's mum doing? And we're straight off after mum to see what that fun is that's going on over there. Does that make sense? Yeah. All right. So the other exercise then is similar but different. Okay. So this is an on-lead exercise, and you practice it on lead, but you practice it on lead at home to begin with. I love that you've got perfect fit harnesses. I love it, and mine do wear them, but not inside the house, and they're in the car. So I have attached his lead to his collar. That's not what I would normally do. Okay, so here he is, and let's see if you've got enough floor. I need to move my phone again. Bear with me. Oh, all right. So we're going along, and for the purposes of this demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some food bits over there. Okay, that's going to make him want to go over there. Now he's paying attention to the thing in the environment. Pay attention to the thing in the environment. Yeah? Yeah, you know when your dog's too well trained. There he is, that's better. Okay, and I say, let's go! And behind me is where I'm going to deliver the rewards. So it turns the dog around 180 degrees. Okay, so there's the thing he wants to go and investigate or get worried about, is in front of me, and I go, let's go! Yay! And the rewards are back here behind me. So the benefit of this exercise is teaching your dog that when you say let's go, you're going to do a 180-degree turn and you're going to move. Okay, so we need to practice that again, get them really, really good at it without the problem in the environment. So don't try and use it until your dog's really, really good at it. Okay, so there he is. He wants to go to those treats that I've put on the floor over there. He says, every time I've gone towards them, this time you pulled me, let's go! And you can see what we get. Good man, you ready? What's that? We'll find it. Find it. Well done. All right. So do you think you understand that? Now you can see it would be much easier to do with one dog if it's possible to separate your two for your training. So let me unmute you.
How do you want to do it? Do we need to get them harnessed up on a lead? Oh, hang on. Can't hear.
You can start the training exercise with them off lead.
Right.
But before you start using it in real problem situations, you have to have really practiced it on lead a lot as well.
Yeah. It's just if I put them on now, they'll get overly excited and we'll get nothing done because they just run riot around the house. So if I just sort of pretend if I've got one to sort of beside me and then throw the treat back sort of thing and do it that way. Okay.
So, and remember, your body is also doing the 180-degree turn. So you are saying it, then you're turning, and the treats are going. Essentially, then they're in front of you, but they're behind where you were originally. If that makes sense. So I'm going. Imagine I'm coming towards you with my dog, and I know my dog's about to have a problem. I'm going to say, let's go, and I'm going to turn my body, and then I'm going to move away. And the treats are going to be the direction that I'm moving in.
Yeah, okay. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Let's go, girl. Come on. Let's go. Come on this way. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Good girl. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. She likes this Sybil, doesn't she? Tills. Let's go. Tilly. Let's go. Let's go. Good girl. Hard with both of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't distracting over there. Come on, this way then, this way. Let's go. Let's go. She's just like going for it there, isn't she? You'd be a lot better, I think, when you're on the lead trying it. Come on then. Let's go. Let's go, Tilly. Tilly. Yeah. Come on then. Let's go. Let's go. She's so excited by this, isn't she? I mean, it's
Okay, so I think you can see how much fun the training bit's going to be. Can you understand then how that is going to fit in with the actual problem and how it's going to help you with the problem? I've got you on mute again, sorry.
there we go. Yeah, because as soon as obviously we're coming towards something, we can just turn and start going the other way, out the way. And then hopefully she's going to forget completely about the dog that was there before.
All right, so we've got one more little exercise to show you. Yeah?
Yeah.
So are you ready? Ready to learn some more?
Yeah.
I'm just going to mute you again. Okay, so helping your dog to change direction to go 180 degrees away, that's okay, isn't it? As long as there's actually somewhere to go. Well, what if you're trapped in a situation where there's some human stranger coming and one dog's worried about that, and then there's a dog with a stranger coming in the other direction? What do we do? You know, we're stuck. All right, so we're not going to get stuck, we're going to come up with a plan. So again, imagine he's on lead and we're walking along. We already know, because we've been monitoring, we already know there's somebody behind us that we don't want to be getting into contact with. So what we can do is train them to follow us sideways. So we're going to go like this, okay? This is called a hand touch target. Hand touch target. So I can move him rapidly wherever I want. Does that feel like that would be something fun to be able to use? To be able to move your dog rapidly out of a problem. Yeah, so to get them from one side of you to the other side of you rapidly. Okay, so it's dead easy to teach as well, which is always a good thing. Yeah, dead easy to teach. So what we're going to do, I've got some treats ready, but the treats are going to be kept well out of play. They're not down here where it might give him the reason to want to nag at them. Yeah, if you've got a dog that nags at pockets, don't leave them in pockets. Get yourself a treat pouch or have them in your hand, but have them right up here, right out of play. If you've got a dog that jumps up at you to get at them, put them behind your back. So those treats are well out of view. And this treat hand, stays very, very still. My target hand, the hand that I'm going to teach them to follow, I want that to stay still until it becomes a target. And when it becomes a target, it's not an ordinary flippy floppy hand. It's not just a boring old hand. Look how much attention he's paying to that hand right now. It is a definite hand shape, okay? So it goes from normal hand to target hand. And some people prefer their target to be 2 fingers. Some people prefer their target to be the back of their hand. You choose. I like a target. My target is very straight, it's very flat, it's very tense. You know, my hand never does that in normal life. All right. So when it's a target, to begin with, the very first time we present it, we're going to present it literally just in front of the nose. And the dog moves. You don't biff them in the nose with it. You let them biff you in the hand. And what's the most important bit for this is telling them when they've got it right. So I've got a marker word. So So when the nose is actually touching my hand, so I can feel that it's touching my hand, I'm going to mark the fact that it's touching, and then I'm going to reward. I'm going to yes, and the reward comes onto the target hand to be given to the dog. So it's empty hand, yes, reward from the same hand, yes. Does that make sense? So it's up here with your food. Let's see if we can do it with the other hand. So food's here, yes. Reward goes to that hand that was originally target. Everything goes away for a few seconds. Yes. Does that make sense? Want to go with that?
Small stuff, isn't she? Right. Which one's going to do it first?
I'll try and take Tilly away.
Yeah, you take Till. Sybil.
Bills.
Sibs.
Tilly.
Sybil. Sybil. No, it's not going to work, is it? Right, I'll just try it and see if she gets it.
I'll take Sybil away then.
Tilly. What's that? I'm not getting this, are you? Come on.
I'm going to give you an intermediate step. I'm going to give you a smaller step to try.
Yeah.
What I want you to do is take your Vulcan greeting.
Yeah.
Get off a minute. Vulcan greeting.
Yeah.
Piece of food there. Close it. You don't get that piece. That just to make your dog want to go to that hand. So you can there. Yes. And reward. So it's to start that towards the hand behaviour.
No. Oh my God, you're aren't you? No. Don't start.
Tips, you come here.
Why am I getting this? I think we've got the worst dogs for this. Come on. Tilly, look, it's in my hand, look. That's it. Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Come on. I know you're quick. Yes. You know what you have to do. You're just being stubborn. Good girl. Good girl. Is this one? Ready? No. Come on. Yes. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl.
Can I just interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Timing, it's difficult to tell with Zoom whether the timing of your marker word correct. It sounds like you're giving your marker word too late. I want it to, you say your yes at the split second that you feel that nose.
Yeah. Okay.
You can say good girl and whatever afterwards as you get in the treat, that's fine. But the mark has to happen at exactly the same time as the nose is on the hand.
Is there a particular trigger word we should use for this?
If you haven't used any word before, then it doesn't actually matter. It can, I like yes.
Yeah.
Or you can use if you prefer. It's just a noise. It's just a noise. Tell the dog, just just a noise to tell the dog that they've made the right choice. But if it's not well timed, that marker that they've made the right choice. If it's not well timed, it will be harder for the dog to learn exactly what it is that you're asking for. Okay, so we need it to be timed exactly as the nose. And if your timing's not brilliant, sometimes it's easier to mark as they're about to touch, so just slightly before. Yeah, but if you keep marking when they take the nose off, when they're already traveling towards the food, what they're actually going to learn is nag for food or go towards the food. They're not learning follow that hand. Does that make sense? So have another go. As I say, it might be the zoom and the delay on the zoom, but it's difficult for me. It sounds a bit like your marker is delayed. So if you unmute yourself again for me.
Yeah, Tilly. Ready? Yes. Oh, I did that wrong. Hang on, ignore that one. Tilly. Yes. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. Oh, I dropped it. Tilly. Yes. Yes. Good girl.
Beautiful. So that looked like she was definitely understanding.
Yeah.
So once we've got the dog understanding, all I need to do is touch the hand, which is nice and simple for them. Then we start adding and move towards the hand to touch it. Okay, so with the hand really, really close, so it's dead easy because they literally just have to do that. And then we're going to say, except that I'm going to present my hand this far away, and you have to move to stretch your face and towards it.
Yeah.
And eventually you get what Dodo's got, which is it doesn't matter where the hand is, I'm going to target that hand. I'm going to go to that hand. I'm going to follow that hand.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
what we can then, obviously, if I'm going along on a lead, and I've got the lead in my right hand with my treats in my right hand, and we're just walking along and I see a problem, I can go, oh, yes. Does that make sense? So I'm going, you ready? We're just going along like this and we can go, where are you going? Go outside of me again, thank you. And we can go, whee, straight round here. Yeah? So you don't have to worry then about fiddling to get to your food. You can teach your dog, target that hand and move with that hand. You're a pain in the bum. And it makes it easier for them to be able to get out of problems with you. So do you want another bash at that and see if you can get her? To begin with, don't ask for much. Literally, she's going to stretch her nose. Instead of just bumping it without moving, she's going to stretch her nose towards it. So it's going to be a little bit of effort. Yeah? Okay, you have a go.
I haven't got many treats left. Phil, do you want to take Sybil out?
Yeah, I'll just take these through.
Tilly.
6.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. Yes. Good girl. I think I'm out of treats now. But I think she gets it. As she started to move closer.
So that's really nice. So you've got 3 different ways of dealing with the problem before it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not going to do any harm at all, and not going to make the situation worse, and might start to help the dog to feel better about the presence of those other things in the environment. But always remember, if it falls apart, if for some reason the dog or the person gets too close, just go, just leave. Don't hang about trying to discuss it with your dog. Increase distance straight away. Just get out, even if you have to run, you know.
Is there a reason why, obviously when they're off lead, is that more because they've got their own space to do what they want, so she's not bothered anymore, and that's it? The frustration is gone, that she can walk up to them and stuff.
But with especially with your teenager and that level of fear that will naturally happen with being an adolescent, then lead is frustration. It is frustration that I cannot do what I need to do in order to deal with the situation. But there's an underside element of fear with your adolescent that makes them more reactive to things that they've never really been that bothered about. Why do they handle it better when they're off lead? But because they can make a choice.
Yeah.
When they're on lead, they've got no choices. You're taking their choice away.
Yeah.
So that means you've got 4 different options. Give can't handle. You can either fight your way out of it, which is what we're pretending to do. You can run away from it. We've taken that option away. You can freeze and see what happens, and they do that. They do stand and they freeze for a few seconds, deciding what they're going to do. And if we can help them to understand, that's fine, let's go. Yeah. Then that works well, because it says, well, you can stand there and wait, or you can follow me and we'll deal with it.
You move it up so I can put it on charge.
Yeah. Sorry. What was your
problem? Is the lead that is the problem, but at the same time, that doesn't mean to say that it has to always be a problem. It means that you can teach them that actually we're okay, just follow me, I can deal with it. You don't need to get all silly about it.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, would it be worth putting Tilly on a flippy lead, so when she sees a dog or a person, she can sort of go at her own pace towards it? Because it seems like when we've got her on a short lead, the more you restrain her from going over there, the more she's getting anxious about wanting to go over and meet the dog or the person.
See, I don't like the idea of that though, because I feel like it gives you less control if she ran out into the road or something, because we're always on paths.
So the extend, do you mean the extender, the sort of self-retracting style lead?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I wouldn't ever use one of those for any circumstances. There are very, very narrow reasons why I would ever use one. I do own one, but they're very specific reasons. And the reasons I wouldn't use one is if you do a search on the internet, the problem with extender leads, you're going to see a lot of different things, including nasty accidents where dogs have stepped off the road, but that's not the only things that go wrong with them. So I wouldn't ever choose one. But what I would do is where you've got a situation where you want your dog to run free, so it's a field or something, and you don't want you to run over to other dogs, then I would use a lead like this. Yeah. An ordinary, but it's really, really long. Okay, so that's a long line lead. And if I'm walking on the roadside and I want my dog to feel as loose as they can, because yes, a lead that tightens when there's something in the environment that they're worried about will make that thing scarier. It will make them more reactive to it. So this is my for me and for my dogs, this is my normal dog walking lead.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So it's not short. So when the dog is on the lead, the whole time that they're on a lead with me, my aim is to try and keep this loose smile between us. So even if he's over there at a distance from me, I still want that loose smile. Yeah. And if I see another dog coming, I want to be able to do my let's go without dragging him.
Yeah.
Moving freely, well, that way. When I say let's go, so that my lead doesn't pull him, my lead is there as a safety net if he chooses not to follow me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I want him to follow me and to keep track of me. So
Yeah.
it's it's quite long. I can't tell how tall you are. What you need when you measure a lead, when you're buying a lead in the shop with your dog, come back here so they can see. When your dog's sitting right next to you and your hands are on your belly, it should almost touch the ground.
Mm.
When you're straight there sitting right next to you, you should almost touch the ground. If it's not, then it's not long enough.
Mm.
See, I think I've got sort of anxious now with the way Tilly is when I walk her, that I tend to get shorter leads so I can control her better, because I know she's going to kick off. So I want to be able to hold her close so that we can get past the issue. But then you buy longer leads and then I'm like, oh God, you can't control her because you can't hold her close. And then I get really anxious with it now, because obviously it's what happens every time we go for a walk on lead, that I hate the thought of having her wandering where I can't pull her in closer when she gets near another dog. So I could be a part of the problem.
Yeah.
Really, it's made me anxious.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you and for the dog then, avoiding situations where you're likely to be through that stress is a really good idea. So drive to somewhere where you think you're going to be able to practice.
Yeah.
But before you do that, do all of those, practicing those games and getting those games really fluent away from those situations. So practice inside the house, practice in the garden, practice on an empty street when there's no dogs in view. Get really, really fluent at it yourself and get your dog really fluent at it. And then when you've had a bit of a break and you've avoided being exposed to those situations that are going to make your dog get overexcited, then you start going and looking for them.
Yeah.
You get brave and you think, right, I'm going to go look for a field where dogs and owners tend to walk around the outside, where we can see a dog, and I'm going to practice at a really far distant level, to be, a long distance to begin with, and I'm going to carry on doing the practice of these things that I think my dog's really good at now, and I'm going to see, can she do it here? Can she do it this far away? And then you become a bit of a stalker, because you start going around looking for people that you can test your dog against. Can we do it at this? Can we do it at this distance? Yeah?
Yeah.
But for now, give yourself a break. Don't keep putting you and the dog into that situation that makes you feel that way. And get really, really sharp at doing those three, which is let's go, what's this, and touch, which is your hand target.
Yeah.
All right, so you do get a copy of this video, which will be put up onto YouTube, so you can use it as your notes. Can I just make sure I've got your email so that I can email it to you?
Yeah. Do you want to do yours so it's easier to spell?
Yeah, you can do. It's Rowe Granite, which is ROWE.
ROWE. R-O-W-E.
Yeah, Granite.
Is that I-T or E-T?
It's ITE
Okay.
at gmail.com.
Like that.
Yeah, that's it.
R-O-W, Granite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, grand. So I'll send you that as soon as it's processed. It takes a little while for it to convert from Zoom into a shareable movie. So you may not get it until tomorrow. But email us back if you think that things aren't improving, and you should. I think if you have a good 2 to 3 weeks of not putting yourself into that situation and finding other ways of taking the walks, taking them other places, so you're not going to be exposing them to that places and those things that have made them feel that way. Get really, really good at those 3 exercises and then start testing it, but make sure you're testing it at a distance which they're likely to get it right, where they're likely to stay under threshold. So really set yourself up for a win rather than setting yourself up for a fail.
Yeah.
Now, things are wrong in the meantime, other dogs will approach you or people will come running out and try and touch your dog because that's what they do. Try not to let the failures sit in your mind. Try not to go over them and over them and over them, because our brains are designed to hold on to the bad stuff. Our brains are programmed to want to cling on to, and it can make us feel like we're not actually getting any progress. It can make us feel like we're failing, and I really want you to just let it go. Just breathe it out and go, oh, some bloody idiots let their dog off or whatever. Now, at the minute, you say that they're good when they're off lead. I think I would continue to do that. If you're happy that they are comfortable with other dogs when they're off lead, then do give them access to that. But for the lead work, for the meantime, for 2 or 3 weeks, avoid the situation entirely until you get these games really, really.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Happy?
Yeah.
Any more questions?
I think I'm okay on everything at the moment. Obviously, see how it goes with both of them, and then see where we're at. What are we best doing? Obviously, in terms, do we need to give it sort of 2 to 3 weeks and then contact you to see how we're getting on? And
yeah, you can email whenever you like. If I feel that it's the same problem and it's a quick answer, then I'll give a response. But if it's getting a bit kind of technical and it's taking up a lot of my time, then I'll start saying, look, we need to arrange another one-to-one.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tie you to having to, because if you're coping on your own and things are getting better, then I'm not going to force you to come back. Yeah. But what I would ask for my own sort of benefit is that if you're doing really well, do let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
I tend to miss out on that bit of feedback. People are fine and they'll go away and you'll see them like a year later and I'm like, oh God, is that one? I think I failed. I didn't do a very good job. And they'll say, oh yeah, it's fine now. What you told us was right. And I'm like, well, knowing that at the time so that I could make myself feel better. Yeah. All right. If you're doing really well, let me know. If you've got problems, you've got issues, you've got queries, get in touch. Don't just keep plugging away. If it's not working, we need to change something.
Yeah.
It's going to be one sentence that I need to type and it'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. In which case, it's not going to be any extra charges. But if it gets to the point where something's changing dramatically or the problem really isn't getting better, then we need to rethink, and that'll be another one-to-one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye.